evening, folks. Welcome to tonight's City Council meeting and tonight's Committee of the Whole meeting. The council meeting is called to order. I kindly ask our clerk to please take the roll call.
There we go. All right. Bruno?
Bruno here.
Burkhart? Here. Ruby?
Here.
Caven?
Here.
Kilberg?
Here.
Kasarag?
Here.
Maladra?
Here.
Marks?
Here.
Mayor?
Here.
Swanson?
Here. We have a full house tonight, which is always a good thing. We begin our council meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance. I would like to ask, despite not seeking permission prior to, my high school classmate Julie Walls to please lead us in the pledge. Thank you. Thank you, Julie. For those of you at the dais and perhaps our professional staff who are joining us as well and those tuning in from home, this is an unusual evening because the folks on the south side of the council chamber are not here for the budget meeting. So despite the excitement that some of you may have felt, but they're here for something clearly more important. They're here to honor their dad, their granddad, their great-grandfather, their friend, their colleague, a gentleman named Dick Walls, Richard Walls. I sent all of you an email earlier today. Mr. Walls passed away on January 18th of this year at the tender age of 91. Mr. Walls lived in one of the coolest hoods in town, where Julie, my classmate, grew up as well. And he served as a city council member from 1967, and we have a copy of the paper, the Geneva Republican, which announces his victory, from 1967 to 1975. He also served on the library board. And perhaps what I thought most interesting is that for all of you who know, the vacant lot on the corner of 4th and State Street, that used to be a Texaco gas station, which was owned by none other than Richard Walls. Isn't that wild? A graduate of Wheaton College, obviously a loving family, a successful businessman. Granted, he located the business in St. Charles, but that's okay. That's okay. Tim, that's not a problem, man. That's good. So we have a special guest, obviously the family's here today, and I wanted to extend an opportunity to my friend, Julie, to say a few words about her dad.
I think I was just sort of nominated by my family.
Yes, you were.
Really, we just want to say thank you for recognizing my dad. I still have his aldermanic, when it was the 2nd ward, so now I believe the 5th ward. But on behalf of the family, the crowd, we really appreciate this. The city meant a lot to my father. He invested time and energy because he cared. And we're just so proud to be his descendants, and to have him honored in this way really means a lot to us. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And there's going to be a celebration of your dad's life on, I hope I have this information correct, February 17th is the service, but on Saturday the 18th from 11:30, or starting at 11:30 at Chapel Street Church.
Correct. Here
on South, which is where they first lived, just a few blocks from there.
Yeah, in fact, one of the other things he was one of the original members who built that building on South Street back when it was first, he turned some of the dirt at the groundbreaking.
Wow.
So it goes back there. All of us were baptized there. So,
Very cool.
yeah, so it's kind of neat to have that service there, so.
And Julie, we want to make certain that your family, who are apparently all here, and anyone else who, of course, knew Richard, respected him and loved him as much as you did, that we would like to just honor him and all of you, to let you know that we're thinking about you with just a moment of silence to honor Dad. Thank you. And thank you for joining us. It's very sweet.
Thank you for inviting me.
Very sweet. And as we were talking on the phone, yes, you're more than welcome to sneak out if you need to. Remember that conversation? Is it okay?
The budget meeting?
No, I said, would it be rude if we got up and left?
At least we asked.
Yeah, at least you asked, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
See you on Saturday, guys, on the 18th. Ben, I think we're going to kick things off with, as we begin to celebrate formally Black History Month in the city of Geneva, we have a brief video that we think is appropriate to share. I do need to turn off the microphones in order for this to broadcast properly so there's no feedback, and I will do so.
Hello! Black History Month is a commemoration, vocab word, for black activists, another vocab word,
who took their time out to go fight for what they feel is right. Like
Martin Luther King had a speech that violence is not the answer and no segregation.
we celebrate black people that helped us change history.
It reminds us to be strong, even in politics. Oi.
What matters is what's inside of you and how you act to other people.
Doesn't matter if you're black, if you're white, you should always celebrate it because you know the struggles black leaders went through in order for you to be here right now.
Even though we may have the different skin color, we're still the same type of people, no matter what.
And a lot of people, they don't see me for who I am. They see my outside appearance, but they don't see what I have on the inside.
It's very hard to grow up knowing that you're black and you have a lot of personal prejudices against you.
I see it on the TV and I'm like, is that gonna happen to my brother? Is that gonna happen to my dad? I always have that in the back of my mind every time that I'm home and they're not home.
Black history is important to me because I have to remember where I came from and I have to remember who came before me.
Because you have to look at the things that Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Malcolm X did for us black people, so people can't treat us unfairly because they think some type of belief.
Because we are all people and we need to stand up for our rights.
There's still discrimination. There's still discrimination in all parts of the world, in all parts of the United States. We should still fight for what we believe in. We should still fight for getting what's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, the proclamation that you received in the packet obviously declares the month of February in the city of Geneva as Black History Month. In addition, we will be flying the Pan-African flag on the east side of City Hall on the lawn underneath the City of Geneva flag after it is raised to honor Mr. Walls. So with that in mind, I would love to take a roll call, first a motion, and a second. Mr. Swanson makes the motion to so proclaim. Ms. Ruby makes the second to proclaim February as Black History Month in the City of Geneva. And with that, Ms. Clerk, please take the roll. Thank you.
Swanson?
Aye.
Bruno?
Bruno, aye.
Burkhart? Aye. Ruby?
Aye.
Caven?
Aye.
Kilberg?
Aye.
Patsarog?
Aye.
Maladra?
Aye.
Marks?
Aye.
Mayor?
Mayor, aye.
Thank you all very much. Yes,
Can I just add something?
of course, please do.
I wanted to say on this topic, I went to the National Civil Rights Museum in Memphis last summer, and it was one of the most powerful experiences I've ever had. I'm going to get teary-eyed even talking about it. I wrongly thought that it was just focused on the 1950s or 1960s, but it really puts black history in America in context, starting with the slave trade. And it's a tough experience, but I was blown away by it, and I would highly recommend anyone to. Honestly, it's worth a trip to Memphis just to see that museum. So, thank you.
Well said. Unanimous support. Thank you all very much. Item 3B, ladies and gentlemen. With thanks to our Chief Budget Officer, City Administrator Dawkins, the city's 7 department heads, Chief Passarelli, Chief Antonori, Mr. McCready, Ms. Cruz, and Mr. Babica, and Ms. Timoshenko, and of course, Mr. DeGroot, and their respective teams, it's my pleasure to present the fiscal year 23-24 City of Geneva budget. This budget, as we all know and can attest to, reflects the goals and objectives the City Council agreed to in our November 22 planning workshop and advances and achieves our mutually desired focus of economic development, environmental stewardship, excellent city services, quality of life, all fastened together with what I hope is an impenetrable armor of good governance. With that, I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing on the fiscal year 23-24 budget. Mr. Marks makes the motion. Mr. Was it Caven? Made the second. The public hearing is open. Is there anyone joining us remotely or here in the audience who wishes to address the budget as proposed? I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Mr. Kosrog makes the motion. Mr. Marks makes the second. All in favor of closing the public hearing on the fiscal year 23-24 budget, please indicate by saying aye.
Bruno, aye.
The public hearing is closed. Moving on to item 4, amendments to the agenda. Are there any amendments this evening, folks? Item 5 is the omnibus agenda. All items marked with an asterisk are considered to be routine and can be considered and acted upon with one motion. Is there such a motion? Mr. Marks makes the motion, seconded by Mr. Kosrog. Oh, somebody else? Oh, I thought so. Maybe not. No. Your alter ego. Seconded by Mr. Kosrog. Whenever you're ready, Ms. Clerk, please take the roll.
Marks?
Aye.
Meyer? Mayor, sorry.
Mayor, aye.
Swanson?
Aye.
Bruno?
Bruno, aye.
Burkhart? Aye. Ruby?
Aye.
Caven?
Aye.
Kilberg?
Aye.
Kasserag?
Aye.
Maladra?
Aye.
The omnibus agenda has been approved with 10 affirmative votes, 0 nay votes, and 0 absent. We jump to item number 10, municipal bills for payment. We kindly ask our city clerk to read the bills in their aggregate for our consideration.
All right, total expenditures are $1,465,128.98.
Mr. Mayor, Bruno moves that we approve and pay the bills as read. The individual items that add up to that amount can be found in tonight's packet on the city website.
Even from a few blocks away, no one challenges Bruno in providing that motion. Thank you, sir. Is there a second to Mr. Bruno's motion? Seconded by Ms. Burghardt. Any questions regarding the matter? Ms. Clerk, whenever you're ready, please take the roll.
Bruno?
Aye. Bruno, aye.
Burkhart? Aye. Ruby?
Aye.
Caven?
Aye.
Kilberg?
Aye.
Kasserag?
Aye.
Maladra?
Aye.
Marks?
Aye.
Mayor?
Mayor, aye.
Swanson?
Aye.
With 10 affirmative votes, 0 nays, and 0 absent, the municipal bills have been approved and will be paid within the next 2 years. Item 12A, folks, consider approval of resolution number 2023-11, authorizing the execution of a temporary construction license agreement with the Union Pacific Railroad. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Marks makes the motion, seconded by
Me, I think.
Mr. Kosarog. Ms. Dawkins?
So this is a temporary construction license to allow the Union Pacific Railroad to have access on, over, and across the legally described area, which is approximately 650 square feet, based on the terms and conditions expressly set forth in the license agreement to move the location of a culvert. Upon execution, the city will be compensated for this area consistent with the compensation provided for the original temporary construction license agreements. I also wanted to note, if you haven't seen on the website, but the UP will be hosting an open house to learn more about the project on Thursday, February 23rd, from 6 to 8 p.m. at our Public Works facility located at 1800 South Street. So while that's not part of the agenda item, I thought it was an appropriate time to make mention of that, but the information is also on the city's website.
Any questions or comments regarding this matter for either Mr. Babica, Ms. Dawkins? Choo-choo Charlie, anybody? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Marks?
Aye.
Mayor?
Mayor, I.
Swanson?
Aye.
Bruno?
Bruno, aye.
Burkhart? Aye. Ruby?
Aye.
Caven?
Aye.
Kilberg?
Aye.
Kasserag?
Aye.
Maladra?
Aye. With 10 votes in the affirmative, 0 votes in the negative, and 0 absent, item 12A has been approved by this council. Item 12B is to consider approval of resolution number 2023-12, adopting the fiscal year 24 City of Geneva budget. Is there a motion? Mr. Marks makes the motion. Mr. Caven makes the second. Ms. Dawkins.
Okay, so for your consideration this evening is the recommended fiscal year '24 budget for the City of Geneva, which includes all 37 funds and supporting documentation. The preliminary budget was noticed in the Suburban Chronicle on January 18th, 2023, and made available on the city's website for public viewing. The City Council was presented the preliminary budget at a Committee of the Whole meeting on January 17th, and subsequent discussion followed at a special Committee of the Whole meeting on January 23rd. As you can see, we have all of the departments with us this evening if there are any additional questions.
Floor is open, ladies and gentlemen. Ms. Ruby.
Thank you. I would like to propose an amendment to the budget to add $50,000 in funding to the Geneva History Museum for both years, not just this year, but the year, the budget, the proposed budget as well.
If I may just clarify, the fiscal year '25 budget would not be adopted this evening, so it will be forecast. So it would still have to be voted on again next year, but it can be shown in the forecast.
Okay.
And I guess we would also need to know what fund.
I would say the tourism fund.
Just so I understand, the motion is to approve the budget as presented, amended to include a $50,000 placeholder in the '25 budget from the hotel motel tax or tourism fund.
Yes, so the Geneva History Museum actually would be the 20,
Yeah, I want to clear, is it 25?
I
This is
would
the 24 budget, so,
24. So they're getting $50,000 in '23 already, is that correct?
there's money set aside for the History Museum in the budget we're considering moving forward. This fiscal year, we are granting the History Museum those monies of approximately $51,000.
Okay, was
Yeah,
that for
I-
22 or 23?
We're currently in fiscal year '23. We term the fiscal years dated by the year they end. So our fiscal year ends on April 30th, 2023. So we are currently in fiscal year 2023. Tonight, we are looking at the budget for fiscal year 2024, which begins on May 1st, 2023, and ends on April 30th, 2024.
Okay, so for 23 and 24.
No, 23 is already done.
I'm sorry, for 24 and 25 then.
So, and I think,
You
I
already
will
said we
I
would
will
have to
turn
vote
to the city
again.
attorney. I
Yeah.
believe that motion's out of order.
It's not out of order, it's just, we just can't do it. We can't budget for beyond the fiscal year we're talking about.
Okay.
So, if I understood your motion, Alderperson Ruby, it was for the 24-25 budget.
Correct.
If that's the motion, that's in order.
Okay.
If it's for projected beyond that, that would not be applicable.
fiscal year '24 budget only.
Fiscal year 24, correct. That's
Okay,
it.
that's fine. Yeah, I just wanted to get the History Museum funding allocated for an additional year after all the hours of conversation that we've had about it. I would like to extend that financial support for an additional year.
Subject to additional conversation by the council and others? Or no
Well,
conversation?
yeah, I mean, my motion needs a second, right? My amendment?
True.
And
Yes,
then
it
we would
does.
discuss it?
Subject to conversation and discussion by others, or just a blanket check?
Well-
The genuine question, because I have a follow-up question to ask.
Okay, well, we obviously need to discuss this. I can't unilaterally decide, but just I'll briefly state my arguments for this and why I feel that the History Museum deserves this funding. I think that Geneva really stands out for our historical significance and our quaint historical appeal in our town. I believe the Geneva History Museum directly embraces, enhances, and promotes this historical feel. The city of Geneva we should show our appreciation for the museum's role in our identity and our entire community with this token of financial support. And I know we had talked about a grant program. This is going to sound harsh, but that's okay. My personal feeling is we do not need a grant program. We don't need a process for a grant program, as no other entities have been serving our community for over 80 years, as the Geneva History Museum has. Thank you.
Mr. Maladra. Mr. Maladra.
Thank you. Actually, the statement that because no other entity has been serving the city as long as the History Museum sort of puts out there one pillar of what you think a policy would contain, and that pillar would be that whatever entity we decide to fund be an entity with some standing in the community. I disagree. I think that we need a policy because this year we've been approached by 3 entities for funding. We can debate the merits of each. You could say you think there's merits to one. I could say I think there's merits to another. But without a policy, we have really no reason to back our assertions other than personal feeling. I can't argue with how long the History Museum has been in operation. I don't argue with its value to the community, but I do think that there are other entities that could make similar arguments, although perhaps not the time length one. A policy would tell us what type of organizations we choose to fund. Do they have to be 501c3s, or could they be anything? A policy would tell us what type of activities we would choose to fund. A policy would enable us to say defensively, here's why I chose to do this, as opposed to just say, well, it was the feeling of this council at this time. We would be able to say that per our policy, this is a 501c3, it serves to buttress the pillar of historical heritage in our strategic plan. The funding is to come from this source. A policy would also enable us to perhaps put some limits around how much we would take from any given source. So to say that we don't need a policy, I think ignores some basic truths about the world that we're moving into. We haven't had organizations approach us before. Indeed, the History Museum, for the bulk of my time on the council, has not approached us either, but that's changed. And so I think that the policy is most important now. We don't have consensus on whether or not we should donate to the History Museum beyond the year that the funding is already there. We also don't have consensus on whether or not we should have a grant program. But we did leave our strategic planning meeting with consensus that we would allow staff to bring us a program to examine, to study, and to react to. And so why we're jumping the gun and we're ignoring the consensus that we developed at our own strategic planning, that puzzles me. It's going to sound harsh, but it aggravates me. There's a will in some of the people on this council to insist on some sort of long-term funding for an entity, but without a policy, I think it would just be poor governance for us to do that. Thank you.
Ms. Burghardt, then Mr. Kosarog.
Thank you, Mayor. It aggravates me that we've spent about 5 to 6 hours talking about this, and it's started about 18 months ago. So I'd like to call the question, please.
For lack of a second, the motion to call the question fails. On the motion to call the question, ladies and gentlemen, a simple majority rules the day. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Burghardt?
Aye.
Ruby?
Aye.
Caven?
Nay.
Kilberg? Aye. Kosarog?
Nay.
Maladra?
Aye.
Marks?
Nay. I'd like more discussion.
Mayor?
Nay.
Swanson?
Mayor, nay.
Aye.
Bruno?
Bruno, aye.
6-4, the motion to call the question has been victorious. Back to the main motion as offered by Ms. Ruby. Mr. Kosrog? Yeah, we need to vote on the main motion. Vote on the main motion. Any comment? Vote on the amendment, the main amendment, yeah.
Correct.
Any commentary allowed on the main? None. Got it. Okay. Oh, thank you, Dean. Okay. Ready for the vote, folks? Just on the motion to extend monies for a future year without consideration. Well, that's my own editorial. I won't do that. So we are allocating monies in the 25 fiscal year budget tonight. We're making that decision.
Fiscal year 24 budget.
We're making that decision tonight. We are making a decision to allocate $50,000 in the next fiscal year's budget this evening. Just for clarity, if I may ask the Chief Budget Officer, do we commit to allocating resources to any department head a year in advance?
No.
No department head has asked you to ask us to
Point
please
of order.
commit resources? I just need to clarify.
It's the budget.
It is the budget. Okay. Exactly.
Not anymore.
Take the roll.
It's the budget in front of
Take
us
the roll.
we're talking about.
Take the roll call. No. It's not the budget in front of us. The motion was the next budget as well.
Fiscal 24.
What we're here tonight, what the public hearing was on, is on fiscal year 24, which is the budget that starts May 1, 2023, and ends April 30th, 2024.
Can I ask a question of the legal or lawyer? Can I ask a question of the lawyer before?
Of course.
So I've had an issue in the past talking about this, I guess would be a point of order. I'm sorry, okay. Not allowing discussion in committee meetings. Obviously, this is not a committee meeting. This is a city council meeting. But is this not brought forward after the discussion already took place from the city, from the committee of the whole meeting? And amendments?
Alderperson Ruby's motion was entirely appropriate. It's a request to amend a pending item. Alderperson Burghardt brought an appropriate motion to call the question because of prior discussions. The propriety of the motion requires a vote, up or down.
Gravely disappointing.
I have a point of order question.
Point of order, aren't we supposed to vote? I mean, it was successful.
Can a,
Does the point
Can
of order
a-
stand?
Point of order, yes.
Point of order stands.
the point of order stands, can a vote to call the question be reconsidered by motion offered by somebody in the majority?
Not now.
Fair enough.
It's over.
I screwed up, sorry.
Any other points of order? Otherwise, we'll take the roll.
Could we just read the amendment again? Just, that's all, nothing other than that. Because there's some confusion.
So propose an amendment to add $50,000 to the fiscal year 24 budget from the tourism fund for the Geneva History Museum. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Madam Clerk, whenever you're ready.
Ruby?
Aye.
Caven?
Nay.
Kilberg?
Aye.
Kasserag?
Nay.
Maladra?
Nay.
Marks?
Aye.
Mayor?
Nay.
Is it a nay?
Mayor, nay.
Sorry, thank you. Swanson?
Aye.
Bruno?
Bruno, nay.
Burghardt?
Aye.
It's a tie. The mayor votes nay. Anything else regarding item 12B as in boy? We're back to the main motion. Forgive me. Back to the main motion. Back to the main motion, which is?
The budget.
Exactly.
As presented.
As presented. Resolution number 23-12. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
All right. Marks?
Aye.
Mayor,
Mayor, aye.
Swanson,
Aye.
Bruno,
Bruno, aye.
Burkhart. Aye. Ruby,
Aye.
Caven,
Aye.
Kilberg,
Aye.
Kasserag,
Aye.
Maladra.
Aye. And Mayor votes
And
this one.
I vote aye, with 11 votes in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, 0 absent. The resolution number 23-12, adopting the fiscal year 24 City of Geneva budget, has been approved. New business. To our department heads, thank you very much for serving as architects of another excellent budget. We appreciate it. The Chief Budget Officer, of course, is included in that compliment, and to, of course, the entire City Council for participating and helping craft a budget that all of us can be proud of. Appreciate it very much. Anyone else? Motion to adjourn the council meeting's in order. Mr. Marks makes the motion, so he's eager to chair the cow. All in favor of adjourning the City Council meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned, folks. About 30 seconds to transition over to the Committee of the Whole.
I call the Monday, February 6, 2023 COW meeting to order. Do we have to take, all the aldermen, you recommend take?
No, say
No.
record reflects.
Record reflects, everyone is present for it. The first, and to note that Alderman Mayor and Alderman Bruno are remote. Okay, thank you, sorry. I'm not used to people being remote. Should be, but are not yet. First order of business, just to say I am Alderman Marks of the Second Ward, along with Alderman Kasserag, which is the ward on the west side, west of Western Avenue. So that's what we represent. Next item of business is recommend suspending the rules to permit Councilmember Marks to chair this meeting and to vote on all action items on this agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Kasserag, seconded by Alderman Maladra. Any comments, concerns, questions? No? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next item of business is to approve the regular Committee of the Whole minutes from January 17th, 2023, and Special Committee of the Whole minutes from January 23, 2023. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Alderman Burkhart makes the motion. Alderman Caven makes the second. Any comments or questions about the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, item 4, items of business. Consider draft resolution awarding bid to OTC Services, Inc. for the construction and delivery of power transformer in the amount of $1,155,661 and no cents. Do I have a motion? Motion by Caven and second by Kasserag. Stephanie, do you have anything to say?
Sure. So in anticipation of the load growth in the Geneva Business Park, the Geneva Business Park 3 substation and transformer will need to be constructed. Bids for the power transformer for the Geneva Business Park 3 were posted and 5 companies responded. The lowest bid was rejected due to several factors as were outlined in your packet. OTC Services, Inc. submitted the lowest responsible bid that conformed to the bid requirements. The anticipated delivery date of the transformer is March 1st, 2025, due to the lead time to build the transformer. Staff recommends accepting OTC Services, Inc.'s payment structure of 25% deposit to be paid upon receipt of order, 25% paid with material order, 40% paid after completion of factory testing, and the final 10% paid after successful testing and acceptance of the installed transformer. Expenses for the transformer will be paid over multiple fiscal years. With us this evening, we do have Superintendent Holton to answer any additional questions you may have.
Are there any questions? I don't know, I just have one, and Mr. Holtman, does this stop any construction from going on in this area until this is completed, or do we have a load to start anything if something goes forward?
We do have capacity.
Okay.
But we can't feed everything that's planned on being built in the next couple of years.
Okay.
So we're gonna hope it's gonna dovetail to where we get the transformer built, substation built, and then we'll be able to handle those new buildings.
Okay, that's the only question I had. I just didn't know if it was holding things up or not. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? You're done. Hearing none, seeing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Aye. That passes unanimously. Okay. The next item of business is 4B, consider draft resolution authorizing execution of a temporary right-of-way permit agreement with the ICG Group of Elburn, Illinois. Do I have a motion? Motion by Kosarog, second by Burghardt. Stephanie?
So the ICC Group is the general contractor for the Union Pacific Railroad, and they've requested additional access rights at the wastewater treatment plant to facilitate access to the Union Pacific Railroad right-of-way. This will provide an off-road access point for staff, equipment, and material delivery to the project site. For your consideration this evening is an agreement drafted by the city attorney and the ICC Group to facilitate that access. A fee of $6,750 will be paid to the city for this privilege, and the ICC Group is obligated to restore the area to its pre-construction conditions when the project is completed. With us this evening, we have Director Babica, who can answer any additional questions.
Are there any questions for Director Babica? Alderman Kilberg, do you have a question?
Right, I had one. Rich, could you give a description of what areas of the waste treatment plant they're going to be accessing, and how long a time frame for the benefit of the public are we talking about? Is this going to impede the bike path in any way?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's on page 129 of the packet. And for the public that doesn't have access to the packet, there is a gravel dirt road that is located on the east side of the main driveway approach to the wastewater treatment plant. And it leads directly to the Union Pacific Railroad right-of-way. It is north and west of the bike trail that services the Fox Run subdivision. So there will be no impediment to that crossing. The agreement is for the life of the project. It's 3 years. And as has already been stated, when they're done, they will do restoration. They are going to be taking a pre-construction video, so we have a permanent record of the pre-existing conditions.
How was the figure of $6,750 arrived at? I mean, it seems minimal for 3 years.
That is the number that was provided on a square footage basis off of the other license agreements previously approved by the City Council to the Union Pacific Railroad.
Okay. Okay, good, thank you.
Any other questions for Director, I almost called you Alderman, but Director Babica? All right, hearing none, seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Next item, business 4C, consider draft resolution authorizing the purchase and replacement computers from Saytech Inc. in the amount of $144,363. Do I have a motion? Motion by Alderman Kosarog, seconded by Alderman Cavan. Stephanie?
So as provided for in the current budget, which is fiscal year '23, and what was in the recommended fiscal year '24 budget, bids were solicited for the replacement of computers across departments citywide. Based on responses from the vendors submitting bids, the recommendation is to purchase replacement computers from Saytech Inc., and purchases will be funded from the General Capital Projects Fund and the electric and wastewater funds, depending upon where the computers are housed. I would note, while it's 2 fiscal years, we will order fiscal year '23 computers during fiscal year '23 and fiscal year '24 computers during fiscal year '24. But we bid that all out at once. And if you have any questions, I believe that Assistant City Administrator McCready can answer those for you.
Any questions or comments? Alderman Burghardt.
Are these laptops, desktops, a mix of both?
It is an assortment of different computers, but over the years we have worked to deploy more laptops. If you give me a moment, I can speak to the specifics.
Okay.
Yes, as far as quantities are going, this includes rugged laptops, this includes laptops that will be deployed to the police department, as well as some other computers, I believe, that are going to be used on servers and back-end equipment to help keep the city operating every day.
Very good, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, seeing none. All in favor say aye.
Bruno, aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next item of business is 4D, consider draft resolution appointing the American with Disabilities Act's compliance officer and adopting updated grievance procedures. Do I have a motion? Alderman Burkhart makes the motion. I need a second still. Second by Alderman Kasserag.
Okay, so in 2010, the city passed Resolution 2010-71, designating an ADA compliance officer and grievance procedure in compliance with the requirements of Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990. The resolution for your consideration this evening is really housekeeping. It just updates the policy and identifies the facilities manager, that position, not the person, as the ADA compliance officer. And employment-related ADA concerns continue to be addressed in the city's personnel policy manual. So again, when we passed it in 2010, we actually named a specific employee. Now that we have a facilities manager on board, it makes sense, since it's typically relating to facilities, that position be designated as the ADA coordinator, but we don't use a name, so that if that person changes, we don't have to do this again. So that's it. And if you have additional questions, Assistant City Administrator McCready can answer them.
Any questions? Hearing none, seeing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Next item of business is public comment or new business. Is there any, well, there's no one from out in the public. Is there anything on the computer? I should ask that first. Anybody signed in?
Nobody's raising their hand.
Nobody's raising their hand? Anyone from the dais with any comment or new business? All right, next item on the agenda is adjournment. Is there do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Burkhart. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned.